This is sort of an extension of a video I did yesterday about the eternal gift of being an eternal server, experiencing eternal, pure, absolute love, which is purity, which means the energy that we're breathing is as pure as it gets, right? And that's an eternal gift, which is an eternal blessing, which is why it's the highest honor code, the first code, the first inner core, or the first core power unit that goes on forever, gifting electrons. That's an eternal gift. So that's what we are. That's what I am. This I am, always in now time, which is divine right timing, which is 0 degrees. That's the exact center point of a magnet. The amplitude, the magnitude. And so I'm an original artist, which is a musician. So we play music, heavenly music. And the gift in that is that we're not held captive by a hive. We all know what a hive is, what a hive mind is, right? We all report back. What do you want me to do? Right? You're free to go. You've learned to become one. You're on your own. You learned how to become one because now you're over unity. Now you're an oversoul. Now you're a full-blown server. What does that do? That increases your accretion levels, which is your electrical potential, which is your creative potential, to go on forever creating. And you're maintaining the purity of your spirit, which is the purity of your fire, which is the firewall, which is the inside of a cell. The first spirit in the first cell is on fire. Fire and water. Fire and ice crystals. Now you're free. Love is what frees us. That's a free spirit. Born free. Born free, first star, first sun temple, the Unisai. Yana. Ya. So I've had some very powerful experiences as it sort of relates to that I was going to share with all of you about CDT plate translations and how this sort of translates into real life experiences. So I shared this yesterday with a few of my friends that was actually triggered by a video of what I saw on the visual landscape of a subscriber that I watched from time to time who had gone down to the beach in Florida and had brought home some artifacts, and they were like seashells, and I believe he went to a store that sells crystals and had them laid out on a flatbed. Bang. And what comes to mind is my home base, Kauai. Ka-U-I, the first I. And particularly, obviously, Mount Waialeale. The ether. And so I'm going to share with you what happened, the beauty of this. Because when you take something from someplace, like the way that they kidnap our children, and how they use battery-operated slaves and transport them to other worlds they've colonized, like a colon. Parasites, building colonies with battery-operated slaves. Yep. And so what happened a few years ago with a Kanaka Maholi, Lemurian light, I met her here a couple of years ago, and because she knew the special relationship that I have with the island right down the road, the nuclear power supply chain. And she said to me, she said, I don't know what's going on, but there's a rock that's been communicating to me, and I don't know that I'm able to translate the communication from this volcanic rock. But you're from the island of Kauai. You would be able to translate what this rock is trying to communicate to me. Can you find out what this rock is wanting? What's going on with this rock? And this rock is parked right out in front of the Hilo Library, public library. So I said, no problem. So I went to the Hilo Public Library. I went out and put my heads on the rock, experiencing the still point. Vyekasha Mueva. And I received the transmission. The rock wants to go home, from which it was born out of the first volcano. It's not happy being where it's at on the island of Hawaii. This is not its home. So I went back and I told Leigh, and I said, well, you know how this is going to go, girl. That rock wants to go home. It was born out of another volcano. It wasn't born out of this volcano. It was born out of a different volcano. It wants to go home. Now, I know how that can be done. That's actually relatively easy, okay? But since you wanted to know, I'm sharing with you what the rock wants to do, because in not so distant in the future, even though there is no time, I've got to go other places, like back to the mainland and do energetic work in other locations, other access points. And so what's sort of unique about that is that yesterday, the day before yesterday, Jason left and flew back home to the mainland yesterday. He's the property owner. But the day before that, when he offered to take me down to Hilo Bay and go swimming and wade around in the water and do some work down there, which wasn't a coincidence, he asked me if I would take some things back to the beach. I said, oh, really? He says, yeah, they're in the box. So I went over to look at a box that he had in the back of the car before we were getting ready to go, and there were some rocks and stuff that came from the beach that ended up in this house. Goddess only knows where it originated from, but it ended up in this house, and he wanted to return it to its rightful owner, the ion, the Unisci. So we went back to the beach, and I put them out there on the sand so they could get to know one another. We brought some new additions. Now we can add a few more things into this visual landscape in a different location, what was taken from another location, which is an access point. Now we're back to Walmart. This is mine. I want this, right? And moving things around and how that relates to transportation systems in the cosmos, particularly as it relates to things that don't belong to you. Now we're into the you, the Unisci, being one, being an eternal server, always on fire. The purity of our fire, which is the purity of the energy that we're breathing, because we're not breathing dirty electricity. We're not breathing dirty radiation. Clean burning fuel, burn a gas. The blue shield. The pink sphere, running pink, the pink Rosetta. That's right. Gaia Sophia, the pink rose, the Rosetta Rouge, the heart key, the first heart key that opens the inner core of the first CPU. The Rosetta Stone, the pink Rosetta Stone. Have a beautiful day. We love you all wherever you happen to be. We're getting it done. The servers are wide open. That's a wide open receiver and transmitter. The Hova body network is up and running.